Butlers, dressers, cooks, and pipers. The royal household is more than just princes and kings. But what happened to these people after the death of Queen Elizabeth? Lady Susan Hussey was one of Queen Elizabeth II's closest aides and worked for her right up until the end. But what exactly did she do for the Queen? Hussey started working for Elizabeth in 1960 as a lady-in-waiting, an unpaid job that is traditionally given to aristocratic women. The responsibilities involved can be varied, but Hussey was often spotted accompanying Elizabeth to events and helping her complete her daily tasks. When Elizabeth died, Hussey became lady-in-waiting to Camilla, Queen Consort, but her time with the royal family came to an end in November 2022 amid accusation of racism. At an event hosted by Camilla, charity organizer Ngozi Fulani claimed that Hussey asked her where her people came from, among other inappropriate questions. Fulani tweeted about the incident, including a transcript of the exchange, and also detailed how Hussey touched her hair without consent. Hussey tendered her resignation soon after. Queen Elizabeth employed many butlers and servants over the course of her reign, but one of the most prominent was Paul Whybrew, otherwise known as Tall Paul. Whybrew, who served the Queen for 4 decades, held an especially close bond with the late Queen, not least because they worked together for so long. The butler likely gained further appreciation after he came to Elizabeth's aid when an intruder was found in her bedroom back in 1982. Whybrew escorted the 33-year-old Michael Fagan away from the Queen's chambers and took him to the butler's pantry, where he calmed his nerve with whiskey and called the authorities. Over the years, Whybrew's relationship with the Queen only deepened. He was one of the few people to tend to Elizabeth during her last days at Balmoral, reportedly bringing her the morning paper and spending time with her. As a mark of just how important he was to Elizabeth, Whybrew was asked to take part in her funeral procession, something reserved for those nearest and dearest to the monarch. With no Queen left to serve, it's likely that Tall Paul has now moved on, although there has been no official statement regarding his exit. Queen Elizabeth was known for always dressing immaculately, whether she was attending a public engagement or hosting a lavish reception. Elizabeth's dresser, Angela Kelly, had played a prominent part in finessing the Queen's appearance since she was hired in 1994. Kelly remained a committed member of staff over the years and eventually became one of Elizabeth's most trusted confidants. Kelly was even gifted a Grace and Favor home in Windsor, which she wasn't expected to relinquish after Elizabeth's death. That being said, it came as a surprise to many when the designer took to her now deleted Instagram account to share a farewell picture of her cottage garden just days before King Charles' coronation. Kelly didn't explain the reason for her leaving, but did a cryptic Instagram post that read, "I'm too old to worry about who likes me and who dislikes me. I have more important things to do. If you love me, I love you. If you support me, I support you. If you hate me, I don't care." The private secretary to the monarch is a difficult position that requires considerable organizational skills. Essentially, it is the private secretary's job to relay information to the sovereign and take care of their needs on a day-to-day basis. This can range from breaking redundancy news to staff members to making dinner reservations. It is not a simple undertaking and certainly not for the faint of heart. Queen Elizabeth's private secretary was Sir Edward Young, who took up the position in 2017 after his predecessor Sir Christopher Great resigned. Sadly for Young, he will eventually be replaced by Sir Clive Alderton, who has acted as a trusted advisor to King Charles III and Camilla, Queen Consort, for almost 2 decades. Since Alderton has worked with the couple for such a long time, the transition makes sense. It won't be an immediate switch, though for the moment at least, Young and Alderton are sharing the position to ensure the early days of Charles' reign go off without a hitch. It makes sense that King Charles will keep some of his mother's staff, but it's not just maids and servants that are staying put. If you watched Queen Elizabeth's funeral, you may remember the prominent role pipers had to play in the service. One moment in particular saw Pipe Major Paul Burns play a rendition of Sleep Dear We Sleep, as Elizabeth's coffin was lowered out of sight at St. George Chapel in Windsor. Reportedly, Charles himself was so pleased with Burns' performance at the Queen's funeral that he appointed him his personal piper. It may seem strange, but the position has been around since 1843, making it a highly sought-after royal job, one held previously by Pipe Major Scott Matthew. Burns will take on the responsibility of waking Charles up at 9 o'clock every morning by standing outside his window and playing a song on his bagpipes. It certainly beats an alarm clock. Queen Elizabeth had a select few ladies that served as her closest aides. For those in aristocratic circles, it was a deep honor and privilege to serve the Queen in this way. Dame Mary Morrison first undertook the position of Woman of the Bedchamber in 1960 before becoming a lady-in-waiting. As part of her role, Morrison often accompanied Elizabeth to events and kept her company during her downtime. As a reward for her dedication, Morrison was awarded several honors, including multiple Royal Household Long and Faithful Service medals. It wasn't always smooth sailing, though in 2018, Morrison was with the Queen at Balmoral when she tripped and fell down a flight of stairs, breaking her ankle. Morrison was 81 at the time, but soon recovered and was back serving the Queen before long. Some expected that Morrison would leave the royal household after the death of Elizabeth, but King Charles decided to keep the ladies-in-waiting in the news, rebranded role of ladies of the household. Their job will be to help the king when arranging events at his new home, Buckingham Palace. Given her experience, Morrison seems to be up to the task. Now well into her 80s, Morrison shows no signs of slowing down when it comes to serving the sovereign. Cooking is one of the most important jobs in the royal household. Not only do you have to ensure that the monarch and other royals are well fed, but you have to create menus for important events, such as state dinners. For many chefs, landing a job at a royal household is a true mark of excellence. Mark Flanagan became the head chef of the royal household back in 2002, and even though Queen Elizabeth is no longer in charge, it doesn't look like Flanagan is going anywhere. Back in 2021, Elizabeth made her favorite cook a lieutenant of the Royal Victorian Order. Flanagan remained busy in the run-up to the coronation, and the BBC released his official recipe for the so-called coronation quiche, which included eggs, cheese, Spanish and more. It's perhaps no surprise that Flanagan is staying put, considering he has some of the finest credentials in the business. He previously worked for Raymond Blanc and handled the food at Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding in 2018. Queen Elizabeth's death didn't just mark a seismic shift in daily life for her own staff, but for King Charles' staff too. As Charles and Camilla, Queen Consort, prepare to move from Clarence House to Buckingham Palace in the next few years, it is thought that around 100 employees will be made redundant. While it's not clear who will be saying goodbye when the time comes, the staff were reportedly told at the Thanksgiving service for the Queen that their post could be on the chopping block. News like that is worrying even if you are new to a job, but some of these staffers have been with Charles for decades. The health of a monarch is always under constant scrutiny. After all, it is in the best interest of the firm for them to keep well and live long. By and large, Queen Elizabeth was blessed with good health, living until the ripe age of 96. Her husband, Prince Philip, also lived until he was 99 years old, proving that their doctors seem to be doing something right. As you might expect, taking on the role of king or queen's doctor is a huge responsibility. Elizabeth had numerous doctors over the years, but Professor Sir Huw Thomas was the head of the medical household from 2014 to 2022. While Thomas only served Elizabeth for a relatively short period of time, she thought highly of him, honoring him with a knighthood in 2021. So that's all for today's video, and thank you so much for watching.